Hey class, just wanted to give you a quick tutorial on just some things regards to the cube project. So if you're still working on this and you have some trouble with it and you want to maybe get some tips, I'll go ahead and show you. The first thing you got to do though is making sure that you have your sketch completed. So here's a little just preview of the measurements that I had. So you'll see that this is my front view, and my length and height, I should say, is 19.4 and 19.4, and then extruded that out so it would be 19.4 as well in depth. So yeah, that's how I did that and measured that. The diameter of this top circle on the top came out to be, I think with this little fillet thing I did, it's a little less, but it's more accurate up on top here. It shows 13.7, and then on the circle that was on the inside here is 13, and then the smaller circle inside was about 10. So and if you wanted to see like what the measurements were for inside, right here for those notches, this little pull out, this section right here where it shows that rectangle right there is 1 millimeter by 1.5. Okay, so let's take a look at just going back to Fusion, and if I were to model this cube again, just to make sure we're all kind of following the same thing. So I'm going to choose my XY plane. I'm going to go to Sketch, Center Rectangle, and then put 19.7 if I remember correctly. Let's just double check that. Okay, so 19.7, and I pressed Tab when I moved from one dialog box to the other, and when I pressed Enter, it turned to that yellowish beige looking square. So I'll try that again. Okay, so if you go here, go to Rectangle, go to Center Rectangle, and on the origin, click down, drag it out, 19.7, Tab, 19.7, Enter. Okay, so let's just double check that and make sure that that's the right, it's 19.4. Oops, so if you go back, you could just double click on that measurement and change this to 19.4. And then the same thing with this one. Alright, so that's another way to do that. Alright, so then we want to extrude that. So I'm going to press the letter E. Notice I'm still in the sketching environment because I haven't stopped the sketch yet. So you can actually extrude in this environment. I'm going to press E for extrude and then click on that face, 19.4, and so there's my cube. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. Hopefully I can get it. There we go. Sometimes if you can't get that house icon, if you use your two fingers and you kind of on your mouse, you shake the mouse a little bit, it makes you get that house. But once you get that house, you can then you're in the isometric view, and you can actually then select the top, sides, and you can use the shift button, click shift, and you can rotate using your two finger gesture like this and move that around. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add the circles, right? So just to give you a quick rundown on that, so let's just start with this left side. So I'm going to go ahead and say Sketch, Circle, Center Circle, and now it says to select a plane or a face. I'm going to select this face, and if I remember the right here, it says that the outer circle on the side of the cube was 13.47 and the inner circle is 10. So I'm going to just draw those both out. So 13.47, and I'm going to do it, press enter twice, and I'm going to draw another center circle, and that's going to be at 10. Oops, did it wrong. So double click that again, and 10. Okay, so now I have my two. Now if you want to get these measurements out of the way, you can click on the measurement, hold it down, and then drag the mouse over, and it actually moves those measurements to the outside. It's a little bit easier to see that. So once that's done, right, so once that's finished, you can actually you can actually then extrude. So again, I'm extruding this within the sketching environment. I'm going to press E, and I can select any of these profiles. I'll select the inner one, and on my drawing it shows that that goes in. Now I didn't quite measure, I don't have the depth included. I should have done that on each of these over here, right? So I just did not grab that dimension, but I think it comes out to about like 3.1 or something like that. I'm going to go minus 3.1, okay? And then notice how when I press enter, the other circle vanishes. Well, if you just go on that previous sketch you made and you click on it, you'll see that it's there. And the way to access that is to just right click and click on edit sketch again, and you'll see that it shows up. We're going to select the outer ring, or that first ring, and we're going to extrude that as well. And that one was less than what we had before, so I think it was about a millimeter less, so I'm going to put just negative 2.1 for that one. Okay, so now you see that there are the two notches. There's a notch in there with the two steps. Okay, so I can, if you get a little bit annoyed with the lines there, what you can do is you can go to your sketching menu and you can hide that. Okay, now I'm gonna label my sketches. So this sketch is called the I'm gonna call it the first square. Okay, and then that's what I made the cube into, and this is gonna be side 1. Okay, and so notice how I named my sides, and I'm just going to keep that convention. If I want to get rid of those lines, I just click on that light bulb and my lines go away, and I'm left with my model. Okay. On the top, let's take a look at the top. It looks like the top is 2.42, and the diameter of that is 12.95. So let's go ahead and model that. Okay, so I'm going to go click the top, and actually you don't have to click the top. You're going to go to circle again, center circle, same way you did before. We're going to click the center of this, and we're going to get the measurement here is 12.95. 12.95. Okay, and then we're also going to raise that up 2.42. But there's an inner circle as well, right? There's an outer circle and there's an inner circle. So those measurements should all have been written down. So I made a mistake. I should have dimensioned this a lot more and gotten all those dimensions written in there. So if you have all those written down in your notebook, then you have to look at those numbers and get those down. So for the sake of time and just for the sake of me showing you this, these are not the correct numbers. I'm just going to use numbers that just to show you how to model this. So I'm going to go ahead and do another circle in the middle, and I believe this one's a little bit smaller, right? It's not as big as the other one. So I'm going to say, I think it was 10. I'm going to go with 7. Okay, let's just go with 7 for now. Press enter. Okay, and then if we want to dimension that, you could also dimension that. It's about 7.2. Let's say 7. Alright, and then move this one out. So then I've dimensioned those both, and I have my top. Okay, now I can then extrude, and then this will come up. It's right here, 2.42. So 2.42. Okay, and so there's that top notch. Okay, so again, if you continue on, you do the bottom the same way and the sides. Remember that one thing that happens sometimes when you do sketch and it consumes that sketch, right? So if you think about this first drawing I had over here on this side, I extruded the middle, but then the outer circle disappeared. So in order to get to this, I had to go to edit sketch and open up that profile one more time. Okay, so just keep track of those things and build out the cube all the way until you get to something like this. So this is the finished, unfilleted, unnotched version. Okay, so I'm going to show you on the next video how to put those notches in and use a circular repeating tool. Okay, alright, take care.